So keyboard instruments, you're interested in crafting them.
It's quite a field.
It really is. There's something magical about taking raw materials and turning them into something that creates music.
Yeah.
Almost like you're blending artistry, woodworking,
Mm-hmm.
all into this one thing that can, make people feel things.
Definitely evoking those emotions. It's like breathing life into the instrument.
It really captures the imagination.
It does.
We dove into some resources from RoleCatcher's career guide, and it seems like to actually become a keyboard musical instrument maker, you need a pretty unique skill set.
Absolutely. I mean, music is a great place to start, but you're going to need a lot more than passion to make a go of this career. Woodworking techniques, you got to have those. A love for precision, familiarity with a really wide range of materials. And then you've got the tools, the chisels, the saws.
It's interesting, right?
It is. Because then you bring in CAD software.
CAD software. Now, that's not something you would typically picture in like a workshop.
Right.
With the saws and the.
You'd think it'd be all hand tools.
Yeah.
But nope. Changing the game, really. CAD software, computer-aided design. It lets you create these intricate, complex designs digitally. It's like a blueprint. But you can change it, perfect it, before you even touch any wood.
Wow.
So it speeds things up for sure. But it also opens up a whole new world for innovation, like the acoustics, the structure of the instruments. You can do things with CAD that you just couldn't do with traditional methods.
That's incredible. It's fascinating how technology is shaping even crafts that we think of as,
Right.
very like old world. So you've got this blend of the old and the new. It's very cool. Now, where does all this magic happen? What are the actual work environments like for someone in this kind of field?
That's what's so great about it. The environments are as diverse as the instruments themselves.
Mm.
You could find yourself in a bustling factory working with a team.
Yeah.
All these skilled artisans, machinery humming, the smell of fresh wood in the air.
There's a certain energy to that?
Oh, yeah. A symphony of sounds almost.
Yeah.
But, maybe you prefer something a little quieter.
Yeah.
If solitude is more your style, you could set up shop in your own independent workshop. That way you get lost in the details, really focus on the craft.
I imagine both have their pros and cons.
Of course.
The factory, that's a more structured environment. There might be more like workplace hazards to think about.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
You've got safety regulations to follow, the noise, the dust, all that comes with the territory.
Yeah.
On the flip side, if you're on your own,
Yeah.
your income might be a bit irregular.
Right.
And you're responsible for finding your own clients, which can be a challenge.
That is a big difference, that stable income versus not.
Yeah.
But there's also something to be said about being your own boss, setting your own hours.
Oh, absolutely. Having that creative control, that's huge for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's about finding what works for you, what you're comfortable with.
Right. So self-reflection is important when deciding to pursue this.
Big time.
Knowing what you want in a work environment, what your work style is like. But for those who are drawn to this craft, what's the job market look like? Is there a demand for this?
It's a good question. The thing is, people will always need music.
Yeah.
And handcrafted instruments. They're always going to hold a special place for musicians.
That's good to hear. So there is some stability in the field then.
Generally, yes. But of course, like any industry, there are always challenges.
Right.
I'd say a big one is competition from mass-produced instruments.
That makes sense. I mean, nothing can really replicate the craftsmanship of a handcrafted instrument, but those mass-produced ones, they're affordable, they're accessible. So that's got to be a challenge for artisans.
Exactly. Which is why finding your niche is so important, especially for someone like you who's passionate about this and wants to stand out from the crowd.
You've mentioned finding your niche
Right.
specialization.
Yes.
What are some areas a keyboard instrument maker could actually specialize in?
Oh, tons. Piano tuning, for one. That's an art in itself, getting that perfect pitch from a grand piano. It's not just about the strings. You have to think about the whole instrument. The structure, the temperature, the humidity.
Wow.
It all affects the sound.
So it's like science and art all mixed together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then you've got harpsichord restoration. Now that's a field where you're combining history with craftsmanship.
Oh, wow.
These instruments, they're hundreds of years old sometimes. To bring one back to life, you need to understand the techniques they used back then, the materials,
Fascinating.
even the musical style of the period.
It's like you're preserving history.
You are. And those are just two examples. You could specialize in building custom keyboards, ergonomics, or you could go in a completely different direction. Experimental electronic instruments. There's a lot of cool stuff happening in that world.
That's really cool. It does seem like the possibilities are pretty much endless.
They are.
But going back to standing out in a crowded market, how does specializing help someone do that, especially with all those mass-produced instruments out there?
Well, think about it. Mass production is all about like uniformity, right? Keeping things consistent, affordable.
Right.
But you lose something in the process, that personal touch. That's where specialists come in.
Okay, I see.
When you specialize, you're not just selling an instrument, you're selling your expertise. You become the go-to person for a specific thing.
Instead of trying to be like a jack of all trades.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
And because you have that deep knowledge, the quality of your work is probably going to be higher.
That makes sense.
So people are willing to pay more for it.
It's a smart strategy.
It is.
So it's not just about the love of the craft. It's about, building a sustainable career. Let's talk about the career path itself. The source we looked at mentioned different stages. You start as a beginner and work your way up. What does that actually look like?
It's a journey. Becoming a master craftsman, you're constantly learning, gaining experience. You might start as an apprentice, maybe an assistant in a workshop.
Working with a mentor, someone who's been doing it for a while?
Yes. Mentorship is crucial in this field, especially early on. A good mentor, they'll teach you the technical stuff, of course, but they'll also share those little things, those insights you only pick up with experience.
I imagine those insights are invaluable.
They are.
Things you wouldn't find in a textbook.
Exactly. It's like a tradition, passing knowledge down from one generation to the next.
This is a special kind of bond, I'm sure.
Onus. It's about shared passion for the craft.
That makes sense. So you start as an apprentice, then what?
Well, as you gain experience, you might take on more responsibility. Leading a team, designing your own instruments, maybe even opening your own workshop one day.
That's the dream.
It is. But even if someone decides to switch careers down the line, the skills they learn along the way, those are transferable.
That's a good point. What kind of skills are we talking about?
Problem solving, attention to detail, working with your hands. These are valuable skills in any field.
So it's about more than just building instruments. It's about developing a versatile skill set.
Absolutely.
So for someone just starting out, what's the best way to get their foot in the door?
Practical experience, that's key. Apprenticeships, internships, workshops.
Getting your hands dirty, learning by doing.
Exactly. There's no substitute for that. You're working side by side with experienced professionals, learning the ins and outs of the craft.
And probably making some important connections along the way.
Oh, for sure. Networking is important in any field, but especially this one. Go to trade shows, join guilds, connect with other makers.
Sounds like it's a pretty tight community.
It can be. It's a great way to learn from each other, support each other, and you never know, you might even find your next job opportunity that way.
So we've talked about the skills, the experience. Now, what about the challenges? The source mentioned the pressure of meeting quality standards, staying up to date on technology. How do you view those?
Good points.
Are those things to be intimidated by?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think if you're passionate about this craft, those challenges, they can actually be exciting. Well, take quality standards, for example. It's not just about meeting some arbitrary benchmark. It's about pushing yourself to be better, to create something you're truly proud of.
Something that will last.
Exactly. An instrument that will stand the test of time. And technology, that's constantly evolving. New materials, new tools.
You got to keep learning.
You do. It keeps things interesting. It allows you to push the boundaries of what's possible.
I like that. It's a field that embraces both tradition and innovation.
It truly is. The best of both worlds.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it all comes down to passion. You have to love it, you have to be dedicated, and you always have to be willing to learn.
It's great to hear about a field where the challenges can actually fuel your passion.
It's true. Keeps things interesting.
Definitely. The source also mentioned building a portfolio and networking, which makes sense for any creative field.
Yeah.
But what does a portfolio even look like for a keyboard instrument maker? You can't exactly lug a harpsichord around to job interviews.
True. It's definitely not your average portfolio.
Right.
But it's still so important for showing off your skills, your craftsmanship.
So what does it look like?
Well, think of it as a collection of your best work.
Okay.
Each piece is like proof of your skills.
Right.
A beautifully restored antique piano, a modern synthesizer,
Yeah.
maybe a custom keyboard you designed, all meticulously crafted and displayed.
So it's almost like a museum exhibit, but dedicated to your work.
Yeah, exactly. Showing the range of what you can do,
Yeah.
the detail you put into it,
That's really cool.
in testimonials.
Oh, yeah. Those are always good.
Don't underestimate them. Getting musicians who have played your instruments to talk about their experience, that brings your work to life.
That makes a huge difference, right?
It does. Hearing a pianist praise the responsiveness of your keys, or a harpsichordist rave about the sound of your latest restoration, that's powerful stuff.
Yeah, those first-hand accounts add something special.
They do. It's not just about seeing the instrument, it's about feeling the emotion it creates, the experience.
And you could even take it a step further, right? With recordings.
Absolutely. Imagine letting potential clients hear the instruments as well as see them.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah. A high-quality recording of a beautiful piece played on an instrument you built that showcases the sound.
It's like the difference between looking at a picture of a delicious meal and actually getting to taste it.
Haha, exactly. You're engaging the senses, pulling people into the world you create through sound.
So for someone interested in becoming a keyboard instrument maker, it's clear this is about more than just building things. It's about building a presence.
It is. It's about crafting an experience that showcases your artistry, your passion.
And hopefully leaving people wanting to hear more.
Absolutely.
This has been a fascinating deep dive into the world of keyboard instrument making. There's a real blend of traditional craftsmanship and cutting-edge technology in this field, and it seems like there's always something new to learn.
There is.
So for those of you out there with a passion for music and an interest in working with your hands, this could be the perfect career path for you.
Couldn't agree more. It's been a pleasure joining you today.
It's been great having you. And to all our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time.